Hi there. I wanted to share with you what I have learned about the history of enteral-based nutrition. There is a very long history of enteral-based nutrition, but I wanted to start by explaining a few terms that are commonly used in this presentation. Enteral feeding refers to the delivery of liquid nutrients directly into the stomach or small intestines via a feeding tube. There are many different types of feeding tubes, but most commonly when they were first developed they used the nasogastric tube, which is a short tube that goes from the nose straight to the stomach and allows for patients to receive nutrition by bypassing the mouth. The first NG tube debuted in 1617 by an Italian surgeon. He proposed the idea of treating tetanus with a small curved silver cannula, through which we introduce food in liquid form directly into the palate, passing through the nostril. About 40 years after this, another physician, von Helmont, used leather to create a flexible, hollow tube that patients would swallow and it would feed into the top of the esophagus. They had no way of knowing where the tube ended up, so many patients developed aspiration pneumonia as a result of these early innovations. The first picture shows a medieval portrait of an NG tube. The other two photos are AI generated and the second photo depicts what the silver cannula NG tube looked like. The last photo shows what an early version of an NG tube looked like if it was made from eel skin and whalebone. During the 1700s to 1800s, early forms of formula began to be developed, and that primarily consisted of milk, eggs, broth, ground meat, and whiskey. John Hunter, who was a physician in the late 1700s, used jellies, eggs, sugar, milk, and substantial amounts of alcohol. In the 1800s into the early 1900s they would mash up hospital food, use broth, or soft foods for enteral nutrition, but as stated previously, they still had no way of visualizing where the tube ended up, so many people died or suffered complications from aspiration or choking. In the early 1900s there were quite a few of advancements in this area. In 1910, the first duodenal feeding tube was invented by Max Einhorn. In 1916, they were able to control the rate of tube feeds and discovered how to deliver liquid nutrition continuously. Beginning in World War I up to the 1940s, they began to recognize the importance of nutritional therapy during injury recovery and early post-op feeding so that soldiers could recover faster. In the 1950s, they introduced the first commercial products with chemically formed formulas. In The Facemaker, Percy Clare suffered a serious facial injury and is sent to the wrong hospital where he is bored and cannot eat due to the need for a specialized diet. During that time in World War I, only specialized hospitals had the ability to do enteral nutrition. Also in the book, Harold Gillies recognized the importance of nutrition in recovery from surgery and the need for a soft or liquid diet when there was trauma to the face or jaw. The nurses there would spoon feed patients, but there is little about tube feeds in the book. But the assumption is that they used early forms of feeding tubes at Queen's Hospital. A lot has changed since the first NG tube was developed. The first commercialized enteral formula was developed in the 1970s, and we currently have options for people to choose from. We also have many different forms of feeding tubes such as NG, NJ, PEG, or J tubes. They are still developing new food-based formulas, with the most recent being in 2013 when they developed Liquid Hope, which is a functional formula that is plant-based. There are hundreds of options for formulas that all have very specific nutrients in them. Throughout history, nurses have been responsible for managing patients' nutrition. In World War I, nurses were the ones who spoon-fed patients or ensured that the tube feeds were effective by monitoring intake, output, and weights. Nurses currently manage these tubes, the pumps, and monitor the effects of feeds to ensure that patients reach their nutritional requirements. We work alongside registered dietitians to ensure patients remain healthy and receive adequate nutrition. These are my citations for the project, and I used AI for some of the pictures and the voiceover. I used Canva video to make this video. Thank you for watching.